Hello, classmates and professor. My name is Spencer Scott, as you may well know, and I am a part of History 1302 with Jordan O'Connell, and I am doing my historical movie analysis project on the movie Red Dawn. Now, this movie was a very symbolic and very special movie to me because my grandfather was involved in the Korean War, and he talks about it a lot, so I've gotten to hear every story ever accountable. He's basically my secondary source for most of my information. My primary source, however, was This Kind of War by T.R. Farnback. And it really helps generalize and kind of get a good idea of the war, like my secondary source did, of somebody who was actually in the war, because it tells the tale from this book from the point of view of an officer in the U.S. Army in the war. So you get the real, strategic parts of the war, like the planning and, how they were going to attack that history talks about, and you get the, social interaction between the soldiers and how tensions were feeling and stuff like that. The reason I mainly chose this primary source was because in this book, Steinbeck. Oh my god, I said Steinbeck. The reason I chose this primary source is mainly because in this book, Fehrenbach addresses a conflict in American society that really interested me and really caught my attention from the movie that I'm doing. He says that American society is too used to a sort of social liberalism, if you would, and that the military prefers a more barbaric, more Spartan, totalitarian kind of approach to this thought. Now, the reason this caught my eye is because the people in the movie Red Dawn, the ones who became the Wolverines, of course, they had changed from this social liberalism kind of background into a totalitarian, Spartanistic people in order to take back the country that was taken from them. Although my source was published and written in 1963, I feel that today it still has a bunch of lessons to teach and a bunch of ties to our wars today. One of the lessons that really stuck out to me is that even though our enemies change over time through wars, the war never changes. We're always fighting against another force for a goal that the other force does not want. That in the movie Red Dawn, for example, it was to get America back. And the Koreans, of course, didn't want that because they wanted America. But in the Korean War, it was to get South Korea their power back and try to help them back on their feet because of North Korea's attacks on them. While Fehrenbach does have sort of a communist thought through all of this, I feel like the ideas presented in this book still pertain to many thoughts and processes of war today. Now, in closing, I'd like to start off by saying that this primary source in this book were a lot more interesting than I thought they'd be, and I honestly wasn't very excited about this project until I started reading the book and I started seeing the connections between the book and my movie. I feel like this was a very interesting project, and it gave me a lot newer perspective on the war and how war hasn't changed over times, and how our, as you could say, civilian look on war is much different than those that are actually involved in the war. Though, as my primary and secondary source have said, it's a different kind of war. Thank you.